everyone. Good morning. Happy July. Hope you're all doing well. I'm so excited to have this knowledgeable, resourceful, generous panel with us today. This has been a long time in the works. I think I first spoke to Joe about it several months ago, and I said, gosh, you know, I'll be very honest, I don't know a ton about new construction, and I know that several of my agents and my peers are similar, and so I thought, gosh, what a great way to bring folks who have different lenses and, as Susan would say, different stripes on the beach ball all together to be able to kind of look at this and say, what do we need to know as agents to really best represent our clients and be knowledgeable in the field of new builds and construction? And so I'm thrilled to have this group here today. I'm kind of going down the line. Doug Dobor with Gerber Homes, Joe Arbogast and Amanda Benge with Lions National Bank. And of course, we all know the amazing Jillian Heinold, who is wearing two hats today, per usual, if not more than, with Marano Homes, and also one of our awesome Keller Williams Gateway agents. And so I don't think that there's going to be a question that any of us have that someone on this panel won't be able to answer. And so I'm really excited to kind of kick this off. So we will have some time at the end for questions. So if you have questions, hold on to those and hopefully we'll get to them at the end. And lunch has been generously provided by Lions National Bank. And so we'll have that at noon, and I'm sure folks will be able, most folks will be able to stay and stick around and answer any questions that you have. So with that said, I'll kind of start at that end, if that's okay with Jillian. If you wouldn't mind just kind of introducing yourself, sharing a little bit about your role with Marano Homes, what that looks like, what you do there, and everyone just kind of share a little bit about your role and your background a little bit.
Sure. So I was given the opportunity to be a sales rep for Marano Homes, and for me personally, I was looking to slow down on the real estate side because personally, my husband and I split, and I wanted to be home for my kids more. And so Marano is right around the corner from my house, and so I decided to take that opportunity to do that. So that's one big reason why I'm there. But Marano is a Buffalo builder, and they're just spreading their wings out here. Not a lot of people know about them. So I'm trying to get the word out as much as possible, but we build patio homes and single family homes. There's two different sections in Farmington. We just bought land at the reserve. We're about to start digging in North Greece, and always looking for more land. I'm sure Doug is too. And so we have ranch homes, 2-story, and what was I gonna say? I don't know. Is that good?
That's perfect.
All right.
That's perfect.
I guess too, if I can just talk about the interest rate thing and the buy down right now.
We'll get to that, but feel free to do a teaser. Yeah.
Right now we have a $27,000 buy down in interest rate. It's a 10-1 ARM, and
so can you explain exactly what that means?
Sure.
Because I know we do have some folks on Zoom and new agents listening in.
It can be confusing.
Yeah.
So Marano is giving the bank $27,000 to buy down points and the interest rate. So right now, if your buyer's around 7%, we're buying it down to about 5%. And so if you have buyers that are at 400 plus, they can more than likely qualify to build with us. Our prices start at 400 and they go up base rate, and then it's a 10-1 ARM, so that means that the loan is locked in for 10 years. And then after that, you get the prevailing rate, and you can refinance after a year. So, yeah, so that's about that.
Thanks. Amanda?
I'm Amanda from Lions National Bank. I've been with Lions National Bank for 7 years, started as a teller, went to a loan processor, recently promoted to a junior loan officer. That position is more or less just training to be a loan officer, and I got Joe as my trainee, so hopefully one day I will be a loan officer and still processing too. So
I brought Amanda because of the piece that you do talk about that with getting our customers to the finish line. So like, we do the bank side, I do the bank side of it, the pre-approvals, the structuring, the right program, the fit. And then, we get a customer from Doug and then we do that piece. And then when we get to the closing, I kind of back off a little bit and Amanda gets the customers to the finish line. So I thought that was important to have her here to talk about that piece, because that's a lot of times a 4 to 8 month process. And her involvement in it is just as important, if not more important, than my involvement in it, and setting that expectation up front and how that goes. So I'm Joe Arbogast. Sorry, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I've been in banking for 25 years. I've been at Lions for 14 years. Amanda and I do a bulk of the construction business at LNB. So that's been a lot of fun.
Great, thank you.
I'm Doug. Hi. I work for Gerber Homes. I've worked with them since 1982. I go way back. I've been a GRAR member since then, so I'm probably the longest GRA member than anybody in this room back in the 1980s. So I wore the realtor hat for a long time. All I do now is work on new construction and land. My dad was Gerber Homes salesperson in the 1970s, so we go back family a long time. Gerber Homes is a family business. We build about maybe 50 houses a year and have done that for 50 some years. Unique thing with us is we build a lot of off-site house, or yours are more subdivision type
Right.
settings where we're building here and there and all over the place. We do build in subdivisions also, but there's not that many builders left in the Rochester area that are willing to do off-site. So your
Right.
grandfather has some land, or your father, and you can get a piece of land from him. We can go there and build. So we're pretty good at that. And we build from, I'd say, like Farmington to Arundecoy to Honeoye Lake to Geneva, kind of that circle. So pretty big area. And construction takes like six months, 7 months. And Lions Bank is my favorite bank. And is my favorite, Joe's my second favorite. But I say that all the time. I walk in the bank and say that, so I'm not just joking, but the relationship, and we work with other banks. We do mortgages with Canada National, Communion, and some of the other banks, but I have a great relationship with these guys. We trust them. They know and trust that we're gonna finish up and do what we're supposed to do. So it's just easy when things go through these guys and they're right on top of everything, so. That's my spiel.
That's a good spiel. One of the things that several of you touched upon that I think would be a really great starting point is to talk a little bit about timeline. Because for us, if we have a buyer who comes to us and says, hi, I wanna buy a new home and I want it to be in it before school starts, well, on July 9th, we'll probably say, oh geez. But we'll say, okay, we know what to do, we know what the steps are, and you can, with a really motivated, qualified, flexible buyer, you could probably get them in 60 days, right? If everything lines up and the stars line up and you have your crystals that you charge every night and you do everything you need to do, right? I would imagine new construction and new build, I would imagine the timeline certainly is different than 60 days. If we have a client that says, I'm tired of this market, I wanna build my own home. Who's the first person out of this panel that we should even talk to?
Julian, all right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe Joe to find out if they qualify.
Right?
Yeah.
So-
Kind of running neck and neck on that, in that
Yeah.
position.
Okay,
Right.
so just like us, we would talk, just like if it's someone looking for an existing home, making sure they're pre-approved
Right.
and
Yeah, if
pre-qualified.
you've got them pre-approved for a $400,000 existing home, they're gonna qualify for
Right.
most cases, a new build also.
Okay,
Anybody really, any customer that I pre-approve, sorry about that, over 350,000 and up, I jokingly say, I'll see you in 90 days. To come build a house, because they get out there, they get frustrated, they see what the market's like, and they realize, they start talking to these guys, and they realize, hey, it's not, we can build, and it's really not that daunting a task, and a lot of people, like, they don't understand it, so they don't attempt to do it, because they think it's this big scary thing, and it's really not. It's a 6-month purchase transaction, is the way we look at it, really.
and so is that, so my perhaps misconception, Jillian, please correct me, is that you guys have new homes ready.
I have new homes ready.
You have new homes ready.
So-
If I say I wanna build a new home with you, you're the guy I go to. If I want a brand new home without anyone else in it, I could go to either of you, but
Right.
if I wanna move in quickly, I would go to you.
I have spec homes, so that's a little different too. is
So what's
because-
that? What's that even mean?
So what that means is I actually pick the house that I wanna build that I think that I could sell. And they go and build it and then I list it. And so then when I have frustrated buyers or when there's other people have frustrating buyers, I feel like, hey, you see on Rock Real Estate Agents, we can't get an accepted offer. I reach out to them and be like, are they considering Farmington? I was like, and then I tell them we have spec homes available and a lot of people will go and see that it's like new construction. So they're like, forget it, we're not waiting, but it's an actual spec home and it's in the neighborhood. And I've had a ton of success where people will come look and be like, yes, we want to be in this neighborhood. I tell them about the neighborhood and the area and everything. And then it just works out because they don't want to wait and they're so frustrated. I was like, there's no competition. This is ready now. Or I have like a couple that are in production that's going to be ready by the end of September. And I just got one under contract yesterday. They're like, we're so frustrated. They were looking and writing offer after offer and then a KW agent reached out to me. And so it just kind of worked out and it's like, it's frustrating for people who can't get accepted offers.
Sure.
So we do have those like build ready and they're now like, will be ready soon. Or if they decide they want to build their own because they want to pick their lot and they didn't realize that they could afford or that also happened
Now,
with me too, where these people couldn't get an accepted offer and I told them about it and they came in and they ended up signing the following week to build a new one.
so if someone buys a spec home, is the process the same as any existing home?
Pretty much the same.
Is it the same from your end?
Yeah.
Okay, 'cause it's
It
built,
depends on what,
right?
right, so
It's
that would
there.
be financed as an end loan, we call it.
Right, and
Not a construction, like a lot of Gerber does both an end loan and a construction, the permanent loan. So it just depends on the fit, on the customer, how much they're gonna finance and how, and the builder, some builders don't want construction to perm loans, they wanna just do end loans.
and that's what we do. We don't do construction loans. So we
Got
take
it.
the loan until they close.
So in much of the country, builders, big subdivision builders like them build spec homes, because that's what they do, and then they can sell them quickly as they go. So, they'll build you a custom home, or you can buy one of their spec homes. And in, the old days, 5 years ago, spec homes didn't sell so well, they'd sit for a year or so, so we started building less spec homes because it's too risky, but now things are moving so fast, so we typically, we're custom offsite builders, we typically don't do spec homes, so our timing is if you show up today, I always talk about a 3-month ramp up period. Get your house plans, get a building permit, do your selections, get your mortgage. We can do it in 2 months if things go really, really smooth, and then get on our build schedule, so. 3 months ramp up from the day you sign a contract till you start, and then 6 months to build a house, so about a 9-month process. And the difference would be, what if you're buying a spec house, it's already half or 3/4 there. Jillian probably picked out the kitchen and a lot of the things, where our house built from nothing, from your dream, you pick every single little piece of everything that goes in the house.
I'm thinking of some clients, I think, who would love that and some who would be
Oh,
paralyzed by
some
that.
struggle with it,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Now, perhaps a silly question. 9 months from now, I'm not terribly great with math, but I think that's winter time. Do you guys build during the winter?
Yes, yeah, so, our New York winters have become more mild than they used to be, so the only thing that happens to us is maybe January, February, if you get a deep freeze and it's 5 degrees for 2 weeks, which it isn't anymore. The masons can't do mason work, but everybody else keeps moving along, so we've been building, right straight through the season, no delays at all. Maybe in the spring and summer, we start 2 houses a week, and in the winter, we start 1 house a week, but
Okay,
keep cruising along, yeah.
cool, good. There's such a wide range of experience and pieces of the beach ball. What are you all seeing as new trends in construction? I'm hearing more about new construction. What's new in new construction that we should know about?
10-1 buy down.
Yeah.
So that's pretty unusual, I'm assuming? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're financing it as a customer,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you'd want to look at the break even on that and when is the refi coming and something like that. You're probably gonna refi in the next few years. So it's a really good product. But that's something that. you
Well, I
didn't
was
see a
gonna say
lot
for
of.
me, it's more cash deals, cause it seems to me that, the people building houses are my age and they've sold a house, maybe some are coming from out of state, they sold a house, made some big money on it. And they're building a $4, $5, $6, $700,000 house and they're paying cash or just getting a small mortgage at the end, which kind of blows my mind. House prices, new custom house prices are up. I go back to the days of Newark 99.9 raised ranch with a lot. I mean, right?
Yes.
And now I think our average sale price this year is 5.25. We're not building big lavish houses, these are your regular everyday houses. So,
What's your average square foot on the 5.25? 18.
1,800 square feet, so.
Yeah, 4 years ago, that was 2,800 square feet.
So
So
these.
that's
It will be
something-
5 years ago.
Pre-COVID,
Oh, yeah.
pre-COVID, but that's something, the trend that we're seeing is that the square footage is dropping. But the price is still there. So, you get it all the time. I'm sure you do too. People come in after I pre-approve them. They're like, okay, we're gonna go design the house. And then that design build is now $800 to $1 million for a 2,000 to 3,200 square foot house. And they're like, uh-oh, but this is out of our budget. Now they're back down to 5.25 and they've taken 800 square foot out of the equation.
Kind of blows my mind that, it was just a couple of years ago, houses were 300,000. Everything I'm working on now is 550 to 700, and I spend a week putting together the numbers for someone, and I'm always skittish to send them to them, so I wait to see what their reaction is, and I'll send them the numbers, and it's 650, 700,000.
And they're not batting an eye.
And so I triage people, I'm sure Jillian does the same thing, really hard, like someone wants to meet me on Thursday in Walworth at one of our lots. Before I want to spend a couple hours going out tromping around a lot, I want to make sure that they're in the 550 range, so, they mentioned the house they were interested in, so my response email back to set up the appointment to meet them, I said, average house is gonna be built there, here's what the lot costs, here's what the lot development costs are, you're probably gonna do $20,000 of extra stuff, here's what the base house costs that you mentioned, all that total $555,000. I haven't heard back from them to confirm the appointment, so either I triage them out back to you guys for existing houses or they're in, so, the general market, I think, has no clue what new houses cost in a lot of cases, but.
What's the reasoning for that significant increase? Is it materials? Is it labor? Is it both?
Code,
Yeah.
Code.
code's a big one. They
Can you
just.
speak more about that? 'Cause
I'll let these guys talk on the code, but if you watch the news lines this morning, Congress just turned down a bill that would have increased the average cost to build a home by $30,000. Because they wanted to mess around with the R value and the insulation in a home and make it a mandatory clause that it'd be a certain amount of insulation.
So like
And that
this-
was, in an already struggling market, that would have.
The city of Canandaigua has that code, I forget what it's called, but if you build in the city of Canandaigua, there's this, like an extra energy code, and it's like another 20 grand, so we
Yeah.
pretty much have said we're not gonna build in the city of Canandaigua.
The green energy initiatives have really had a hit on it too, what they're mandating. I mean, they signed a form now that's saying that you didn't want to put a sprinkler system in your new home, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's something.
So I
When are they gonna make that like part of your build? There's another 20 grand.
I live down the street from the head of the Russian Homebuilders Association, and this morning at 6:45, I was sitting out in my patio looking at my email, and he walked by, and I ran out walking, and said, I'm gonna walk with you. I'm gonna do this Keller Williams thing today, and what should I tell him? And he gave me a whole rundown, he told me a lot more than I needed to know, but the Russian Homebuilders Association, the Realtor Association, the Monroe County Bar Association has formed a new group for building, and it's not even affordable housing, it's just building houses, we gotta build more houses, we gotta make building houses easier, better. And the communities have put in so many regulations and so many things, that's what's driving these costs up. And he said to me, he said a lot of the older builders that have kids are not gonna go in the building business, and they're starting to fade out, so. We're all talking about a housing shortage crisis here, the only way to fix that is to build more houses. And the building more houses, there's builders in Rochester, Reedman. Big builders built thousands of houses around Rochester, got out of the existing single family home market. Just to build commercial and the multifamily stuff, because, you know, there's just too much trouble, it's too hard to do, so there's. You know, I forget where I was at a Realtor meeting and someone said, as Realtors. You know, in your communities, if you see that there's a public hearing for something, go and, you know, go and listen and talk and say, we need houses, stop giving these guys such a hard time, you know?
Town of Farmington.
And you probably,
is Crazy. I
yeah,
mean, we now have to do top coats because we give the driveway. And
Yeah.
they're forcing us to do top coats. You're supposed to wait like a year or more to
And
do a top coat.
but you get, that's
Canandaigua
Farmington,
forces-
right?
Yeah,
blacktop.
that, we have to do egress window,
And
we have to
foot.
do an air ventilation system, we have to do all of that now because of
So,
it.
get this, in Victor, the grass has to be growing 85%
Yeah.
germination before we can
Farmington
see a
too.
go. So we're gonna finish a house today, you're thinking you're moving in today, we gotta wait. Yeah, this is nuts, you gotta wait until the grass is germinated 85%, that could be another month. So we haven't figured
That's
out
like
how to
for
deal with it yet.
And that's an issue with the bank, because how do we convert, if we're doing a construction to perm mortgages, we need to see a vote to convert to the permanent. So now we're sitting here, and our customers are on an interest only payment on a very large sum of money that we can't convert to a 30-year mortgage because we can't
We
get
don't
C
have
of
final
O.
C
I
of O.
mean, instead of waiting for paint to dry, you're waiting for
Grass
grass
to
to
grow.
grow.
And blacktop, but we have flexed on that because of what's happened. We'll convert with a temporary C of O depending on what it is.
So those are.
But still, it puts the bank at risk. We got a mortgage on a house that doesn't have a certificate of occupancy. That's what the C of O is, if anybody's
Those are
wondering.
the bureaucratic issues. I just lost a $500,000 deal in Walworth. The Attorney General has to approve our private drive agreement. And it was supposed to be done like 3 months ago, and went on and on and on and on. Every time people ask me, how's that coming? I say, oh, we should have it in a couple days, you know, like I'm lying to them. Thinking that we would, and they finally bail out. And then we literally got it the day after they bail out on me. And so that was, you know, that's another step in the bureaucratic process that should take 2 or 3 weeks to
Yeah.
get taken care of, and it took 6 months. And we couldn't build this house, and
I had a code
We lost
enforcer
it.
threaten to have our customer arrested because they had town approval to put in their driveway. So they went to start to put in their driveway and they said, well, you don't have the permit. If you keep building, I'm going to have you arrested. It's like, come on, folks.
that's the
Yeah.
tough part of it.
Yeah. Some of the
We
things.
don't,
are-
we don't want to be negative, but that's.
Yeah.
that's our-
But again, that's kind of what's happening with the total cost to build and bureaucracy, really. Labor shortage is probably the next biggest, right? I mean, getting people to build these, where'd everybody go after COVID that swung a hammer for a living? They disappeared.
You
So
know,
that's been a difficult one that I've seen.
Yeah, the old model was, you know, the middle-aged man and his son, you know, 2 or 3 workers did the labor, you know, the plumbers, electricians, the heating guys, everyone, and those middle-aged guys are now old and retired, and their sons don't want to be in the business, and
They're
they can't
gamers.
get, and they can't get any laborers, so the labor market is, you know, we hear people talking about the tough labor market, I mean, it's really it's a serious problem. We used to have, you know, 5 guys framing a house, and now it's 2 guys, because nobody else shows up to work.
I think for us is when we stop having the new build orders, we start building specs to keep the laborers in our community.
Yeah.
That way it keeps them
Keep
busy,
them busy.
so they don't go
That's why
away.
you do that. Well, we do the same thing in the winter and in the slow years, we build apartments. Gerber's build apartments for themselves, just to keep everybody tight, because you know, everybody's fading away.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are there, this is perhaps a loaded question, and it's not even on my sheet of questions, but talking about permits and town regulations and this town this and that town that. Is there a better place to try to build, a preferred location versus others? I mean, it seems like the city of Canandaigua with the energy insulation.
I think it's everywhere. I don't think it's just Canandaigua.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a better place. I think for you have to probably do more field tests and test soil and everything, where in my subdivision, everything's already like taken care of. So I think your processes are probably a little bit more.
Yeah, ours was
Involved,
one off. Every town is different. Every town has different rules. and
Right.
Every town changes the rules. When a new building inspector comes in, he's got his quirky thing, so it's hard and you get blindsided. You know, for example, Macedon, Scott, the building inspector, they've been there a long time. He knows us, he trusts us. when I sell a house in Mass, I think this will go easy, this is fine, it's just easy process. Canandaigua, Farmington, Victor, and we're not picking on those building inspectors, those are
No.
bigger, more active towns with more stuff going on, they got really strict rules, they gotta follow the rules, they can't give anybody a little flexibility, and it's just tougher.
Sure.
But really, that's something to be said for building with builders that are known, that have been around for decades, because of that right there, when the code guy shows up, he knows that was done right. He knows the quality of the
trust.
work that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's the same thing with us as a lender. We won't let anybody build the houses. You have to be a builder. Show me you're a builder. And it wasn't always that way. You could do so, but you could be your own general contractor. But those days are kind of gone. And I don't know of any other banks right now that allow that to happen because, again, let's talk about what happened during COVID. And a lot of, we call the pickup truck builders, we're building one house a year, two houses a year, while they weren't financially able to carry their load, so to speak. And we ended up with a $500,000 hole in the ground.
and that's what Joe just said is really important for everybody here to understand, there's builders who have long time building, operations and reputation. And there's builders who are remodelers who now are gonna build a house. And sometimes that goes okay and sometimes it doesn't, but the banks,
More times it doesn't.
the banks don't wanna back those. So if you're working with a customer who says, oh, my cousin is a siding guy or roofing guy and he's gonna build my house for him. That's not always, unless the people are paying cash and have, the ability to do all the work
Sure.
themselves physically,
Wow.
sweat equity, that's fine, but usually those situations don't go well.
Well, you end up with a 4-year project.
Yeah,
And no lender wants a 4-year project.
yeah.
Do you guys have a approved builder list?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's perks for that, with the Gerbers
Like
of the
it's
world.
an arm?
No, we don't have that.
We
We don't
need
have that. That's okay. Well, but we'll do, like on our construction of perm loans, I'll guarantee a conventional rate for 12 months. And it has a free float down. So if you close your construction loan and your rate's 7%, your build phase is for 6 months. I'm guaranteeing that at that day that I submitted your application and the conventional rate was 7, there's no add-on for it. I'll guarantee that rate for 7 months. I'm sorry, actually, depending on the builder, 7 to 12 months. With Doug, it's 12, and then it also has a free float down.
We have
So
a
you-
free float down also.
Yeah, so you really don't hear about that much, but I would actually do a breakdown in the 27,000 and see if that's really how good that is.
Yeah.
But one of the things we do too, and from a bank standpoint, is we don't sell our mortgages, we service all of our mortgages. And I think that's a big deal to know where your mortgage is. And because of that, when you do refinance, the cost of our refinance is about a third the cost of the other lenders. Because your loan with us, because of the servicing, has what's called SEMA eligibility. So you don't get hit with that New York State mortgage tax again. And that's 1% of the loan amount in Wayne County, 3/4 pretty much every other county around us. So and then with your relationship discounts, like I said, we're about a third, so that helps too. Even though we don't have that 10-1 buy down.
The big difference with Lions
Yeah.
is they wanna do construction loans because they're
Yeah.
bringing in new customers and they hope that the person that gets a construction loan or mortgage with them becomes a checking account holder and a
Yes.
savings account holder and buys some CDs and, builds a relationship. So they wanna do construction loans. Not every bank wants to do construction loans. So they have different rules, tighter rules, bad rates, bad programs. So you have to, when you're searching for a bank for your customer, they may have a pre-approval at KeyBank or something, whatever bank, for an existing house, that may not be the best bank for new construction, whether it's a new construction end loan or a new construction building loan. So you guys wanna check that out.
Joe or Amanda, can you, the phrase a draw schedule is something that I've heard. Can you explain what that is for me, if not for everyone else? What is a draw schedule? What does that
Yeah,
mean? How does that fit in?
Doug probably could answer that too.
Or
But a
anyone
draw
else.
schedule is
Good at
just,
making notes, I make a lot of those.
yeah, it's just the schedule of how funds will be released for the home. So typically it's like a 4 or 5 draw process, so we'll release for like the foundation first, and then the second draw will probably be framing, and then roofing, windows, then the third draw is like the inside stuff, and then you have the final draw for the final touches. So the draw schedule is just like the building of the home along the way, and us releasing funds based off of that draw schedule.
you know, why do some builders do that and some builders don't? So Jillian's houses are all on land that they own. They don't transfer the land or the house to the people until it's all done. So if something goes haywire with that customer halfway through the project, it's okay, because they own the land, they own the house, they can, you know, keep people's deposit and move forward or whatever.
And make it a spec home and.
Or whatever, make it a spec home,
Yeah.
where, when, you know, Colleen's building a new house on her grandfather's land that he gave her, and we come build the house. We wanna have some money, cause she owns the land, so we can't come repossess the house, it's on her land, so, you know, we wanna have some financial investment in it. And that's why I like construction loans, cause it keeps the people involved. You know, we get halfway through the house and we got a couple $100,000, they're not gonna walk away. Or if they do, at least there's, you know, something to hold it together, so that's why some builders do construction loans and some don't. And we do, well, you probably do FHA, VA,
We don't do FHA.
You don't do
we're
FHA? Yeah.
Conventional VA.
but VA, yeah, we do a couple, you know, VA ones, just like existing houses are. A struggle with the paperwork, but you can get through it, so we do a couple VA deals a year. They work out okay.
So with your draw schedule, your first draw of a construction loan could be to buy your lot. Because, so we do that a couple of different ways. So, okay, we want to build now, so where do we find the land? Well, she knows where her land is. Maybe he doesn't know exactly where his lot is. They have lots to buy, you could buy from them. But we could do a couple of different things. We could do a land loan up front, purchase the land, secure that. A lot of times I'll tap equity in your current house, so you could be a cash buyer to go find the land. Because just like good houses are hard to find, so are good lots. And they're not making any more of them. So we do offer that land loan product. We do offer a second mortgage product where you can cash buy the land with your equity that's in your current home. So essentially what you would do at the conversion, you're basically doing upfront by taking that equity out of your current home and putting it into your new home by purchasing the lot with that equity. If you didn't do that, we would finance it as a land loan. And if you can get it to run concurrently with your purchase contract, and that's an important thing, I'm under contract to buy the land, but now I'm working with Doug on designing my house, that might be a 3-month process, whereas your lot purchase needs to be bought in 45 days, right? You don't want to breach the contract, lose the lot, and then here we are looking again. But most people who are selling land are pretty reasonable. They understand that you're going to build on it. So we don't really have that issue, but that can also be the first draw of your construction is the purchase of the lot.
Related to that, this is really important for you guys, is, you know, build a relationship with a builder or a builder representative. And when you're showing customers land, lean on us to go look at it, you know, especially also if it's offsite. Because in a lot of cases, we know about the lots that are on the market, whether they're good lots or bad lots, or there's something unique there. And, you know, I can tell you, so many people buy lots and then come to us to talk about building a new house, and they're blown away by all the costs. Then they resell the lot a year later and they're all depressed and it's terrible. I'm working on one of those now where this guy bought this lot. I know there's no way this guy's gonna build a house there. It's not gonna happen. And I just sent him the numbers for the new house and lot development costs the other night. And I know it blows him away, but he has this beautiful piece of land and he should have worked with us beforehand. And so, you know, I get calls every couple of days from realtors that say, hey, my guy's looking at a lot in wherever, if you know anything about it, can you come look at it? And we'll run out and look at it, or look up the maps, or and we won't be shy, we'll tell you, that's a terrible lot, you know, there's no electric running by it, did you notice that? There's no electric poles, or the lots, you know, the land is here and the road's here, you're gonna need $20,000 of fill to build up the land to meet the road.
We ran into it with people buying lots that was an old Navy base. And the government didn't have to say where anything was. They put the bucket in the ground and there's a water line, there's a power line, down 30 foot, there's another pipe. There's an old set of tracks. I mean, that really happened and everybody's like, what? What's this? Why isn't it on any type of survey map? You just don't know, because it was the government and they could do whatever they want. And there's still one of those lots for sale. They don't
Yes.
realize that the
So
infrastructure that's running through it.
as realtors working with buyers who are searching with land, get the builder involved early and help the
Yeah.
people figure out if it's gonna really work. And sometimes we talk them out of it, you know, sometimes it's a matter of, yeah, this building thing isn't gonna work, let's get back looking at existing houses, but you don't wanna spend 6 months to figure that out, you know, I become a really fast triager, so I turn that around quick, cause I want people to know, I don't want them messing around thinking about this new building for 6 months and then lose 6 months of the existing house market, if that's what they should be doing, because not everybody, works out. Joe mentioned it, I shouldn't say this, but some people are. I've joked for years and said people should take a psychological exam if they're gonna build a new house. Because some people are,
Get a marriage counselor.
some people can handle it and some people can't. And like really crazy uptight people who are always in a conflict and are really struggling all the time, they shouldn't build a new house, because it's too stressful. Most people cruise through it and it's
Amanda
okay.
takes the brunt of that.
Yeah, and I'm joking about this, but it's absolutely serious, right? You guys gotta shake your head, yes,
No
okay,
question.
because there's people that can't get through that process, so,
I think
So-
it's important though to educate them on the process.
100%.
If they decide that they wanna build,
100%.
this is how it's gonna work from start to finish, because if they're
Yeah, yeah,
Right
prepared, you'd be
expectation.
like, we talked about this and
Yeah,
this is
remember?
where we're at.
you gotta be
So-
flexible, you gotta chill a little bit.
Yeah.
You gotta have the
Yeah.
right psyche.
Because they'll forget
Knowing the
90% of what we
process is
say.
Super important, but we have like, guides to building books, I don't know what you give out, but it just goes through the whole process of it, and I know we didn't really talk about the process, so I don't know. If you wanna talk about
That'd
the
be great,
process.
sure, go for it.
For me, we're a production builder, but we do have a custom feel, because we have floor plans that you can pick out that are already predetermined, we can make structural changes. But you would come to me, pick out your house, and then once you go under contract with just the structural, you go to the design center. And the design center, you can pick out all of your interior, exterior, selections. And then, they would be sent to the kitchen designer. They get to pick the layout of their kitchen, and they get to pick out, what kind of cabinets they want, the colors and all that with the kitchen designer. And then, they'll go to, VP Plumbing and Lighting to pick out their, lighting fixtures and their plumbing with their toilets, their sinks and everything. And then, they would go to our granite place and pick out all the quartz that goes throughout the house. Cause that's standard. And so, and then once they pick all their selections, then they're done. And then while they're doing that, we're getting the building permits and staking out the land, and then they start digging, and then they go through an electrical appointment, drywall appointment, and then their orientation, and then the project manager takes them through the house to do their orientation for how to use all the mechanics and utilities in the house, and then they close. So our homes are pretty much done within 5 to 6 months, unless RG&E doesn't come and install the utilities. That has laid us up a couple times, but I'm not gonna lie, but most of the time it goes pretty smoothly. And
We all
now-
have our Genie story on there.
Yeah.
Can share, right?
So that's our, kind of in a nutshell, our process. I don't know, with Doug, I did have a question. I know we're not doing questions yet, but do you do field tests before they purchase the land
Yeah, so.
with permission?
Since a lot of our stuff is offsite, every lot is individual, and a lot's either approved or not approved. It may not even be subdivided yet, so there's, process of doing a perk test, if it's a septic system. Determining where the water and the gas, if there's gas and electric is. So there's a little more, sometimes we have lots that's already been done.
Mhm.
And sometimes we're starting from raw scratch. And, yeah, so it takes a few months to do that process, but, so we. Find the land, determine if the land is buildable, determine the cost to develop the land, septic, driveway, water, gas, electric, whatever. Pick out a house plan, could be a stock house plan, you can make modifications, add a 3-car garage, add more off this, and our plans are all flexible, or. Start with a plan and draw a house and go to an architect and start from scratch, that's an expensive, long process, but some people do that. And then it takes some time to get the plans, then we do a plan review, like you talked about, our people do a small. In-house selections, and then we send them to the different vendors, so we actually send them to the floor store, the granite store, the kitchen store, different places in Rochester, like 5 different places. And in our stuff, there's no limitations, there's no box of, here's your 4 colors, that's it, you can have a pink house if you want, out in the country, but you can pick from pretty much anything, and as you're looking at things, you know, the siding guy's gonna say, here's Gerber's standard siding colors, features. They say, oh, no, we like this really dark, green one. They'll say, that's okay, that one's gonna cost you another $3,000. So, you know, every one of those selection process potentially has upgrades, and we do change orders and keep track of that.
We cringe as a lender when we hear that.
Yeah,
Change orders or the,
Change orders, allotments and TBDs.
to be
Right.
determined.
To be determined. What's the allotment? $1,500 for your lights? Go look at your entryway light could be $1,500. So, but were you done?
Well, but you.
I wanted to get into that. I wanted to get into that a little bit.
But you only cringe with a tight qualified buyer who maybe doesn't have a lot
Right.
of resources.
Well, we finance 95% of a construction loan, so I mean, so there was a time where we mentioned it switched to where they're more cash buyers and
Yeah.
whatnot. I mean, at 2% interest rates, we were financing construction loans for first-time home buyers. You know, it's unheard of. Now, today, it's like, no, that's not gonna happen. But, you know, we sit down, we pre-approve, we go into contract, we close the mortgage, and we put $400,000 in the savings account. That's your money to build your house with. And we know that you didn't really have any more. We have a draw schedule. Now you go sit down and say, you know what, I'll put 3 feet on that granite countertop. Let's put an extra bay on the garage, and then we'll settle up. And they come to us and like, hey, we're short $40,000. Where's that coming from? What? I told you, you're right here. So again, with what Jillian said, setting the proper expectation from a lending standpoint that this is your cap, this is it. As much as Mr. or Mrs. wants to change something, this is you, and they never hear that. It happens so often. It's like, well, where am I gonna get this money? Now, we have yet to have to foreclose on a house because they couldn't convert to permanent because they didn't have the money. We get creative, right? If the work was enough that it would change the value, we reappraise the property. So there's ways around it, but it's something that I have always, Amanda and I both are always really firm on, is setting that expectation that, okay, you have wiggle room or you don't. Right, because we know they're gonna go to design teams, we know they're gonna have the ability to change just your knobs on your cabinet. Okay, that was $1,000 change. Hollow doors to solid doors, what's that cost? You know, all those little tweaks can be an issue when we get to conversion, which you don't typically find as much on an end loan, because, you know, we're looking at the house, we know how it's gonna be built. But you can still on an end loan do change orders and end up that we were pre-approved at this max, but then these guys know this is their max. And we have those conversations with our builders and say, hey, this is what they're going to do. Don't go above and beyond, because we have had some builders who have said, oh, I thought he had it. I'm like, no, he didn't have it. So we run into that sometimes.
Well, I think, and that's why it's so important that, you know, your relationship together is like, if you're working with Doug, go with his lender recommendation, because they're in like, I wanna say a love triangle, because I'm sure that, you know, between you and an attorney, you might suggest, because they work with Gerber Homes a lot. I'm the same way with my preferred lenders, because they know the process. They work with the attorneys in our community, in our, you know, with our builder. And so that's why it's so important that, you know, they have that relationship, that you should use Joe if you went with Gerber, because they have that relationship and he knows.
Building a team, like
Right.
your builder, your
It's-
bank, your
right.
attorney,
It's so
and
important.
everybody meshes, everybody knows what the other's doing before they do it.
Exactly.
And it's just a smooth transaction. You know, some people, oh, I'm gonna go to my credit union. Oh, yeah, maybe they don't do construction loans or do them very well.
Right.
You know, you listening to these guys, they know who does it well, how you get paid. I mean, builders like us, because we got some flexibility on our draw schedule. It's a roadmap. We don't say, oh, that was done in, was supposed to be paid in 4, but it was done in 2, we'll pay you in 2. That's fine. And we get the money out quick to our builders. So the project keeps going. You know, Doug's always like chomping at the bit to get that third draw. And, you know, we average 5 days to get that money out, 5 to 7 days. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I have a couple now that are with Farm Credit. I'm not picking on Farm Credit because it's their process, but it's a really tedious process. So we gotta call the buyer and say, your basement's done. Buyer's gotta go to the house and take a picture of the basement from 3 different angles, and the buyer's gotta load it up in an app, send it to Farm Credit, and then Farm Credit's people have to review it. Probably gotta do a title, they do a title.
Title
thing,
rundown.
They do a title rundown again,
Mhm.
and then Farm Credit sends the money to the buyer. They may wire it to their account, put it in their account, I don't know, and then the buyer's gotta bring us a check.
which is unbelievably risky for
That's
the,
like
for everybody.
That's like a
because-
month-long process where.
You go to
these-
Vegas.
These guys we call and say, basement's done, they send the guy out, takes a picture, and then within 24 hours, they're wiring us the funds, done. Yeah, we're
And that
not-
goes directly to you instead of going to a client.
With the,
Yeah.
but with the
It
customers,
seems very.
Oh,
Why didn't think about that, right?
Yeah, and then the buyer goes on vacation, so they didn't bring the check, and, you know, it's not about chasing the check, it's just
How
about,
they get the money for
it's
vacation.
just about the process being,
Exactly.
really, yeah, so.
yeah, that's happened.
Oh,
That's happened,
Bankruptcy, that's what they're gonna do.
There you go.
The casino,
yeah,
yeah.
right. They just spend all their money at the casino.
How do appraisals work?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is so fun. They actually call and ask, I've never had this request except for the last spec home I sold. The appraiser called and asked me for comps of the homes that have recently sold, then asking me for all the interior selections of these homes.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm like, I'm not going through all of these because I'm newer, so I didn't sell the homes that are already built. My homes are in production right now, so I'm trying to go through and find all of these homes that have a comp with, you know, that's gonna compare to that, and our prices have gone up since they've closed. So that's also like been kind of like a struggle. I don't know what
Well,
your
that's exactly
experience
why
has been.
having the bank relationship is good, because the bank is hiring appraisers that often do new construction, so they understand new construction. If we get a new buyer with XYZ bank, and that bank doesn't do any new construction, and their appraisers don't do any new construction, man, it's a struggle, it's a battle, just like you just.
Well, and you can't, as a lender, you can't pick and choose your appraiser. It's gotta be on a round robin, right? So, but it's really, it's a crystal ball appraisal, right? What is this? So you come to the bank, we're ready to submit your application. We're doing three things: mortgage commitment, attorney, title, and appraisal. And appraisal is the most important part of the whole scenario, because that's what we don't know about you at that point as a lender, as a customer, is what's the house going to appraise? Yeah, you know, we got an idea, but still it's a matter of, and you know how appraisals work, it's that person's opinion on what that's going to be worth, of course, based off the market and it's their comparables. But they're going to appraise that subject to completion. Okay, that house on that lot built that way is going to be worth X amount of dollars once complete. And that's what we're using the basis for our financing and how much we lend.
I understand that they do the appraisal up front. They don't do the appraisal at the end, they do the
Right.
appraisal up front. Because when you send me the mortgage commitment, I raise a man about this all the time, I get the mortgage commitment, I'm reading through it, subject to appraisal, I think. This commitment's not worth anything, it's subject to appraisal. This doesn't give me a good, man, when's the appraisal gonna be done?
And the construction appraisals take a little bit longer, there's a little more detail. I mean, you could turn a purchase transaction around in 3 to 5 days. We're probably 10 to 15 days on a construction appraisal. And then if you don't have a problem, I mean,
Per month.
I just had one, I looked at one this morning and the appraiser gave the subject to completion value at $180 a square foot. Well, we're at $260 a square foot. Appraiser, why are you at $180? Right? So then you gotta, look at that and deal with that. But that's again falls back to, we got a stable of appraisers that we know understand
To new construction.
to appraise a build and what this is as a new construction and what it costs to do the construction.
We're making it sound more complicated than it is, it really
It
isn't.
really
We handle the
is.
complicated
It's
stuff.
really things
Yeah,
that
you
you
don't even
really
know
have to
about.
worry about, it's stuff that we have to worry
Right,
about.
oh, good, we'll keep it on that
Yeah.
side of the table. This may be a really, basic question, and then I'll make sure I save time for anyone to ask any questions, but when do we get paid?
Yeah, good question. Julian's answer and my answer, I think, are different, so.
They're gonna be different, so we pay up front. So we'll pay within 30 to 60 days of all contingencies being met. We don't typically take any contingencies, but you still have to get mortgage approval. So as soon as the mortgage contingencies released, which we actually have them released immediately, in the contract, you'll get paid within 30 to 60 days.
And that's even if you guys are building and we have to go and pick out our granite and everything?
Yep, so even if you're building, we pay within 30 to 60 days and you just have to, Bob would have to send a W-9.
Sure.
And you have to, and Susan had to sign something saying that if something happens that you don't close, you owe the money back.
For the Rochester market, that's really unique. That's not typical. That's, you know, part of their sales pitch and presentation, like the buy down. That's a good thing. So
Stop bringing it up.
we pay typically at the end. And, you know, again, we're building mostly off-site, so we're building on somebody else's lot. There's a lot more risk. So, you know, we want the realtor, if we need to have a little leverage from the realtor to help get this thing done.
Little skin in the game, yeah.
Little skin in the game, so, you know, with my Keller Williams Realtor friends, I often will ask them, are you capping soon? You wanna get paid a little early, you know, if you gotta get paid 2, 3, 4 months early because you're doing your cap thing, you know, we figure that out, we do that. Leslie Gregel is one that I've done that with, and I think Kathy Shalansky, maybe I did that once with her, but, you know, so we're, you know, there's a little flexibility with that.
Good to know.
And oh, go ahead.
No, cool.
Well, yeah, we can't talk about commissions, but the whole payment structure might change soon. I don't really know. And again, I asked Rick Herman, the Russian Builders Association, what am I gonna tell these people? Because I know they're gonna ask me, what's gonna happen with the commissions and how's this all gonna work? That's the big elephant, hot potato in the room. And I don't know.
Well, we'll have to have you guys back at the end of August then.
Yeah, I think.
A part 2 to see what ends up
We're-
happening, right? I mean,
We're waiting to see what's gonna happen. You know, the big thing I wanna say is realtors that work with builders, you gotta bring something to the table. You can't just make a phone call and expect to get paid $20,000, $15,000 commission. You gotta be, you know, involved as much as you think you can be, but you know, my favorite Keller Williams agents check in with me, they want me copying them stuff, and I feel good about that, because they care. They come and see the house. I know, again, with Leslie does like 6 or 7 deals a year with me, she's done really well, you know, with the new construction stuff, and if she doesn't come to the walkthrough with the buyer, sometimes I'll FaceTime her and hold the phone up so she can see the buyer and congratulate him on the new house, we kind of play that. And so, you know, I feel that when we send her a commission check, you know, she was involved, I feel good about it, but the agent that calls me up, met the person on Zillow the day before, never showed him anything. And expects, you know, to just walk in and pick up a, you know, $15,000, $20,000 commission without being involved through the process, that bothers me. And I think that it bothers a lot of builders, and I think that when this new situation changes, I think you're gonna see builders pulling back. You know, the other big builder in the Rochester market is just doing a referral fee, I think now. So that's interesting. So you know, it's gonna be, so you gotta be really specific. If you're referring a building job to somebody, how do I register my customer? And what's the commission? You gotta know that up front, just like you're gonna have to do, you know, with the new stuff that's coming down. And you should get that in writing. You know, my friendly realtors I do lots of stuff with, I think they're good enough, me just sending them an email, yep, I registered so-and-so, they're in the system, they know they're good with that, but like some of the Howard Hanna people are really good at that, they'll always send, you know, that must be part of the rules, they always send the builder registration form, register the people, and write in the commission rate, they're very formal about that, and I appreciate that, that's good, because I like having that, so.
Transparency is important.
Yeah, you got to, and you know, the other struggle is, you know, Jillian probably has the same struggle. You know, if you show up, you're out showing somebody existing houses, and they're out also looking at building a new house. And we're 2 months into reviewing with them, or a month in building a new house. We priced the house, we've shown them some land, we've done a lot of stuff, and we don't know anything about you, because they've been looking at existing houses with you, and they never mentioned that. And now you show up the day that they're gonna sign a contract for the new build and wanna jump in on the deal. There's gonna be you're gonna have some struggle with that, so you need to, you know, you need to educate your buyers that if they're gonna look at new construction, you wanna be involved with that, however you're gonna do that. Do you run into that?
Yeah, we have our own realtor registration forms, and they're good for 90 days. So if they decide not to build past 90 days, you have to register them again if they're still considering. A lot of times, if you're not the procuring cause, and for us, boss doesn't typically honor it. So if I go through and I price you out and you're already on the sales report and you don't say you work with a realtor, it's really hard to get you.
It's hard to flip that.
It's
yeah.
hard to flip it. They're like, no, they weren't the procuring cause. It happened to me. There was a woman in my neighborhood who said, my parents are looking for a ranch home if anyone's selling, and I live behind Morano. And so I messaged her and I said, hey, I work for Morano. I can build them one if you can't find something. So she sent her dad to me. And then I did all this pricing out and then showed him the spec home that we, 2 spec homes we had that were ranches. And then he's like, okay, we want to move forward. And then we're signing a contract. And then he's like, well, my realtors, it's a sad situation, so I don't even want to
Yeah,
get
I've been
into
there.
it. But they're like, he's
So we hope you guys will ask us questions about that, because you know, we wanna
yeah,
hear from your side too, so that's always been
Yeah.
a struggle.
so
And it's,
they wouldn't, they're like, oh, my realtor said that they'll give us they'll, we can register and he'll give us the credit, so we have the money off the house, cause he's gonna build our house or sell our house. And it was just too late and he wouldn't honor it.
so, and I asked the Restaurant Builders Association guy this morning, I said, are the new documents that are being prepared by GRAR and the Home Builders Association and the Monroe County Bar Association, are they gonna specifically say for your buyer registration stuff, single family existing houses and building and land, or how's that gonna be? And he says, I got no idea. You know, this is a guy that's in charge of the Restaurant Homeowners Association, so that's still all up in the air, what's gonna happen, but, you know, as you guys learn about and figure out the new buyer representation process, you know, that's maybe part of your conversation with the buyer is, hey, if you guys, you know, if we can't find an existing house and you do consider going, you know, to build a new house, we wanna be involved with you with that. I don't know if your agreement's gonna make that the way it is, or you gotta work that out. I don't know that yet, but I think you're gonna find builders are gonna tighten up their rules of things. You know, if we know that you're out showing existing houses and you have a buyer agreement and the buyer's agreed to pay you, you know, if you're getting paid by the buyer, then why should we pay? I mean, I'm not saying that's the way it's gonna be, but I think, you know, I'm wondering in my head, how's this all gonna work? I got no clue how this is gonna work. I'm as frustrated as you are. I don't know what's gonna shake down.
I haven't heard anything about that, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but we want realtors to bring us the house, and so like we are very good about paying them and being good to them because we want you to keep bringing your.
But you want legit registrations and you have a
Absolutely, well,
process.
as it should.
That's my
You
point,
know,
yeah.
yeah, but once they register them, for me, if they can be involved as much or as little as possible.
Same here.
I have them in a group text, and every time like a foundation pour, the framing's up, we're all in a group text and I send them pictures
That's
because I'm right there. So it's a little different for me in a subdivision because I am there and
Yeah.
I make the rounds of like updating what's going on because a lot of my people are moving in from out of town.
Yeah, I try to do the same thing, because I want to be that agent's builder contact guy. So, you know, there's a half a dozen, mostly Keller Williams people that I'm kind of their builder guy. So I'm the one that they always bring people to, and we have a trusting relationship. So really all I gotta do is text me and say, can you register so and so and so and so? And I do that right there and I let them know on the spot. Yep, they're good. It's a good registration, or sorry, they're in our system. They've been talking to us, you know, not me, but one of the other Gerber sales agents for 3 months. Here's all the notes, here's all the data. This communication started 3 months ago. Sorry, can't honor your referral. You know, that doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does. And but you know, is what it is. Gotta stay on top of it.
I wanna make sure I save some time if anyone has any questions. What questions from the group here do you have for the group there? Chloe.
What, if any, differences are there to getting pre-approved to build? Cause I know you said, if someone has a $300,000 or $350,000 loan, you make a joke and you're like, well, we'll start building in 90 days. But most new builds are going for like 400,000 and up now. So like, is that?
It's the same process on the pre-approval side of it, and I could do that pre-approval in like 20 minutes. I'm actually, when I do a pre-approval, I'm doing it as if you're purchasing the home. Because whether it's an end loan or construction permanent, I'm looking at the end financing of what you qualify for. A lot of times our debt ratio doesn't, I know this sounds strange, it doesn't matter to us as much. I can have a 50-some% debt ratio at 95%, knowing that they have a house that may be free and clear or a lot of equity that they're going to sell at conversion. So I'll allow them to be high on paper, so to speak. And then have a low, we know that they're gonna sell and convert and have a lower payment. So it's not much, it's almost the same process.
Yeah, I don't know, if like when people come in to buy your houses, do you need a pre-approval, like, you know, these guys are used to doing when they're showing existing houses, or are you a little?
I don't have them get pre-approved unless they think they're gonna move forward.
Yeah.
I mean, I just show them houses and then they're like, yeah, we're interested, and then I give them, you know, the business cards of who we're affiliated with. They call, get pre-approved to say they're good to go, and then we do a contract.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that is.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll, you know, depending on the situation, I'll have them check in with Joe, and, you know, 1 out of 10 times Joe calls me and says, their credit is really, you know, I'm not supposed to say that. This isn't gonna work, Doug,
You
so.
wanna do what?
Not really. I haven't had that happen to me at
Yeah,
all. I
I'm
think
pretty loose about
people are
that.
pretty good knowing whether they're gonna be able to afford it or not, you know?
The big difference for me in the new build market is that people that used to come. Want to build a new house, wanted to build a new house, they've been saving their whole life, they wanted to build a new house, and they came because they wanted to build a new house. The people that are coming now are all people who have just fatigued working with you guys looking at existing houses. They looked at existing houses for a year or two, they get beat out by 20 other offers, they think there's no other choice than build. And the struggle with us with that is we put deals together, I've had 3 this year, the deals I put together. I thought we're all set to go, and all of a sudden, the perfect house showed up for sale, existing house. They made an offer on it, they won that time, and then they called someone and said, we changed our mind, we bought a house last night, we're not gonna build. I'm like, what, where did that come from? So, you know, that's been a struggle for me. is
Us
that-
too.
That's been a struggle that the people who I'm working with are not 100% into the
Yeah.
build thing, they're still looking at existing
somebody-
houses.
Decline my mortgage. Okay, you sure? Yeah,
Yeah.
decline it.
Yeah.
And then, oh, I need the money in 2 weeks. What do you mean? You declined the mortgage. Now it's a whole new process again. We gotta start all over. It's like, no, don't decline it. What are you doing? But it's such, you're right, the customers are such a seesaw.
Some of our recent customers are
Yeah.
more desperation customers because they found no other
Right.
option, they need a house. And so I don't know, have you had that happen where people had intended to build and then,
I've had a
They
couple
went
of
existing?
people say, we're still looking at pre-existing, and they're upfront with me, which is
Yeah.
great. Because I get excited and I tell them about the process, and I'm like, their face lights up, and I'm like, that's exactly what I want you to feel. Whether you're buying a pre-existing home or if you're building a house, I want you to feel excited and happy about the house that you're purchasing.
Yeah.
And so, some people be like, we gotta try, there's a couple houses on the market that we're gonna try to write offers for, and then twice. They came back to me, they're like, we didn't get it, we're done. You know, they said, oh, if we don't do it, it happened with my aunt and uncle, actually, they're like, Jillian, if we don't get this, we're gonna build, and they're building a rental home in Buffalo. Because they're just sick, you know, it's just not working out, so.
Marlene,
I have 2 questions. You mentioned that, you want to know that the builder is, qualified.
Mhm.
Do they just need to be insured? That's one. The other one is, if someone gets pre-approved and all that and start the foundation, that's pretty much the start of it because they own the land. Come back, the builder comes back from lunch, drunk. And I fire him. Then what happens?
Doug's
That's a good
Doug's
one.
never gotten fired. Talk about the vetting process that you do.
So for the vetting of the builder, so we do have a list of approved builders that LMB's works with, but if the builder is not on that list, then we need to vet them. What that process looks like is they have to fill out a builder's questionnaire, and then they have to provide us with tax returns and some references, I believe. Once we receive those items, we send them to our head underwriter, and then they're the ones that make that decision to approve or deny that builder.
So from an insurance standpoint, builders, did you carry a builder's risk policy? Some builders don't carry a builder's risk policy. The builder's risk policy protects your structure through the build phase. Lightning strikes, all of a sudden that's gone, that replaces that structure. I tell all of my customers up front to talk to your insurance agent to protect yourself. You dig a hole in the ground, Johnny Rotten rides his tricycle into it, breaks his leg, who's responsible for that? That was your hole in the ground. So in that instance, you should have some type of liability. A lot of times your current homeowner's insurance covers that liability, that type of liability. But I always tell our customers, and I don't know if you guys do the same, well, you with a construction draw loan, never show up on the lot and start controlling and directing the project. You tell that laborer, hey, can you give me a hand? I want to do this. You know, you love the hands-on customers, right? They're trying to do things. And that guy hurts himself, you're responsible now. Do you have the proper insurance? Your builder does, because he's the person who should be controlling and directing. So from an insurance standpoint, I think that's an important question, a conversation that I have with the customers, make sure you are properly insured, because I have had that happen. I had a guy hire his own trust people. He fell off the trust. He got sued for $450,000 because the trust guy broke his back and he wasn't properly insured.
We have a
So-
liability waiver telling them not to go on, like nobody that's not authorized to be on the property is allowed on, and so, then they're responsible if they get hurt.
Yeah.
So we have that kind of thing, but we do carry our own insurance also throughout the whole thing
Yeah.
until it's closed.
Construction guys can be rough and tumble guys, and you know, what your story was interesting. I haven't actually had that happen, but I've had other things happen kind of similar, and it's a struggle that the builder's responsible for. You know, if that's the builder that's in that situation, that's a bad situation, but you know, a general laborer, you try to keep control of everybody, but it's hard, you know, we've had construction guys do stupid things that, you know.
It's really hard for anybody to build with, Morano. It's a vetting process. They have to have over $2 million of insurance before
Yeah.
they're even considered to be able to frame or anything. So,
And that's what we're doing too, when we finance these guys. I mean, that's the tax return. You better be running into it as an S corp, an LLC, or your Schedule C. We want hundreds of thousands of dollars a year run through that, showing that you're actually building houses with 3 referral sources. I want 3 of your last customers as a referral. We're gonna call those people to say, how was this? If we haven't built with you, but that's why we have the approved list, and I could hand you 20 builders right now that we know do a great job.
Yeah, we got rules, you know, no smoking in the houses, no drinking alcohol in the houses. But, you know, these construction guys, you know, shouldn't say they're all pigs, but they're leaving their drink bottles around. Drives me nuts. I go in a house and there's drink bottles around, water bottles all laying around. It just drives me crazy. But it's been that way for 40 years. I've been
But
complaining.
if I don't have a Murano Homes, a
Yeah.
Gilbert Homes, and
You got one of those pickup
I
truck
have
guys.
no, not really, it was a builder.
Yeah,
But they were hired to do the foundation and do the home. And they came back drunk.
yeah. But you can,
And
you
so
can,
what happens with the loan is what.
yeah,
Oh.
you can fire 'em. I
Yeah.
can think of it. We built a house in, where was it? It was in, Woolkit. And the buyers were high, crazy buyers, whatever. And they fired us, you know, we got the basement done, we just had a conflict with them, you know, and they weren't right, and we weren't right, it was just a bad situation, so we canceled that deal, I think in that case, we canceled the deal, we said, you guys, we can't work for you anymore, so that happens once in a while, I don't know what would happen to their loan, go find another builder.
If it's a construction loan, they've got a loan, and this needs to get finished. Either you find somebody that we approve of, or we'll find somebody to do it, and the cost is the cost. Right, so get along with your builder. kind of thing, but if you can't, for certain reasons, I mean, it happens. It doesn't happen very often, it's a rarity, you've probably never seen it. I ran into it, but I mean, you're talking about.
I'm thinking once in 40 years.
Yeah, yeah, it's not very often, but if it does happen, you still have the loan with us, like I said, we'll vet the next person or, you know, figure it out. Your problem with that is the time frame of getting somebody to show up. Now you just added, you know, 8-9 months to your project because that builder's not ready to go. You know, you never want to pick the guy who can show up tomorrow, right? Why is he not busy?
Well, I have a question for you too, if that ever should happen, or, because you rate lock them in for 12 months, if it goes over 12 months, what happens?
They're floating.
And then they have to pay, or,
No, you're worst case pricing. Now, during COVID, you know, it hit the fan and everybody went over. You know, some builds are out 12, 14 months. We took care of our customers. We guaranteed them their locks. We offered them different payment options on the interest that was owed because this was no fault of their own. And just like that would be no fault of their own. We stand behind a lot of people. If, you know, if I go to my guys and say, hey, look at, here's what's happening. Would you do something? When we were a local community bank, we're about helping people. So we're not just saying, no, you're done, right? We've extended, we've done other things and deferred payments and that type of stuff in those instances. But that's one of the reasons why we thoroughly vet these guys. And hey, you never know who's cool it could happen to.
Heather, did you have a question?
I did, is it okay?
Yes, that's why I'm calling in.
Just real quick, so I know that NYSERDA and the government has put like a lot of things in place with like heating and cooling and that kind of stuff. They're encouraging people to do heat pumps versus central air. Does that affect your build? Like, are you guys putting in heat pumps with ACs? Are you doing that versus standardized gas?
Well, there are subdivisions, you got gas, so.
we have
you're-
gas, so
you got
we're
regular-
going to see.
We're doing more geothermal.
Yeah,
So we had, you know, lots that don't have natural gas available, your choice is propane, which lots of people do, and that's fine. I always kind of joke and say propane is just like natural gas, it just comes in a truck instead of a pipe. There's different costs involved, but more and more people are doing geothermal, which, you know, they dig these trenches, they put pipes in the trenches, and it's like electric heat pump.
yeah.
Kind of a funky setup. It's expensive, it's like, I don't know, 30 grand.
So
But
the
there's-
government, NYSERDA has all of these plans in place right now where they're giving like $25,000 to $30,000 credits to people that are putting these in their homes. So I only asked that because I just got a brand new air conditioner yesterday. My air conditioner crapped the bed. I have a brand new furnace and it's 6 months old and the AC I didn't do. Long story short, now I have this new AC. And he goes, do you want to put in a heat pump? I'm like, why would I do that? I have a brand new furnace I just got like 8 months ago, whatever. And he said, because there are incentives.
Yeah.
And so they want people to have a heat pump that runs their AC unit. So he could give me $25,000 in the new heat pump. And I'm like, I just paid $10,000 for this unit
Sure.
last year. Like, why would I do that? So the government is really like pushing people to do like heat pumps and anything electric. Moving forward, so I just wondered if that's what we're
Yeah,
gonna be
I'm
seeing.
seeing, we're doing more, like- so that, you know, that cost of 30 grand and all the credits, and they're not deductions, they're credits. You gotta have the income and pay the income taxes in order to take a credit,
Yeah.
tax credit. And so, but the net cost is, I don't know, 8-10 grand typically, which if you divide that out over the years, it's usually a break even, you know, in a few years, if you're in a location that doesn't have natural gas.
Yeah,
And that credit, what he said about that credit part, yeah, here's a $20,000 credit, but depending on how you file your tax return,
yeah, oh,
you
sure.
may not get that credit.
Oh,
So
sure.
I always tell folks, hey, make sure you have a conversation with your accountant.
You have to.
If you think you're going to, okay, so a propane system standard, $15,000 to $20,000. Like he said, geothermal, $35,000 to $45,000. But in your mind, you're thinking, I'm gonna get 20 back on a credit on my return, and maybe that doesn't happen.
So they,
We also have an issue with it, based off the appraisal. So, because there are not, some of these appraisers aren't up on the green energy piece.
yeah,
So you're spending an extra $30,000 to $40,000 on this green energy, solar panels, heat pumps, geo, and they're pricing this house out with a standard heating system.
so what they're doing is they're giving the credit to the actual installer, they have to be
Okay.
NYSERDA. That's why I wondered, do you guys have
Yeah,
like
some-
NYSERDA standard installers.
Yeah, like the geothermal, ASUS is over in Lima and they do the geothermal stuff and they get some of that credit and then the customer gets some of the credit.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, those are good things.
I think it's like, it just got approved like June first, I was reading into it, so it's gonna definitely, it's coming down the pike, so it will
Picking it up.
eventually,
Yeah,
hit you guys soon,
yeah.
so.
Any other questions? Well, it's no party at Jillian's on, so, yes, Lisa, one more question, yes.
It's very specific. What are you seeing in terms of stairway railings? The Golden Oaks still thing, I've got this Golden Oaks stairway. So what is like the latest trend in stairways?
Well, our regular stairs are carpeted and
Okay.
you can upgrade them to oak stair treads.
Mhm.
And the struggle always is if there's a landing, you go up the stairs and there's a landing, you turn and go up the other stairs, what do you do on the landing? Because usually don't do oaks, they do a laminate, sometimes that, I don't think it looks as good. You know, you go oak stairs and you got your laminate that tries to match the oak stairs, but it really doesn't, so, yeah, oak stair treads are still popular. They cost more. Yeah, but you can carpet them, nobody would care.
Well, my home is a brick. And it goes part way up with the oak, with the carpet in the middle, a runner. in
With a
the middle.
runner,
Then when
yeah.
it gets to the landing, it's carpet all the rest of the way.
Oh,
And
that's
then it's
different,
just
yeah.
Oak railings, white spindles.
Yeah.
Oak treads that the carpet guys scratched up. So they
Yeah.
have to do something. So I'm just trying to figure out what's trending.
Yeah, oak treads are still. I'm still trying, it just depends on people, if they got little kids or little grandkids, sometimes they don't like the oak steps because the kids tumble down.
Mm.
Some people with dogs, they don't like the oak steps because they get all scratched up, so. Either way, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't wanna be a oak hardwood floor guy. Because the laminate floors are so nice now that they have like totally replaced, and we used to do oak hardwood, like I call it bowling alley hardwood, you know what I'm talking about, and then engineered hardwood, which is. Wider planks, because everybody likes the wider planks, but you can't get the wider planks in the bowling alley type hardwood because it cups. So, but now, like, everybody's doing laminate, you know, $500, $600, $700,000 houses, laminate floors that look like oak.
So right.
But you can't do those steps, they don't have steps in that
Right.
stuff, so you still gotta go with the wood steps.
Yeah, and now it doesn't match my land.
Right.
Good thing.
And can
Problem.
we, I know I'm not good at
Thank
it.
you.
How about Nelson? Can anyone go to these lighting stores and get lighting, or does it have to be somebody who's doing?
Well, with our houses, the lighting, we can supply your lighting, so that's the only thing that we let the customer supply. So you can buy lights on Amazon, go to Lowe's, get whatever's on sale.
Oh,
It's easier for you to go to the lighting store and pick everything out, because an electrician manages it, but.
Well, thank you
All
all
right.
so much. We
Thanks for
really
the
appreciate
opportunity.
that. I think it was super valuable and we appreciate your insight and your time and hopefully you'll be willing to come back again in a couple of months when maybe there's some changes and we can, I'll be updated. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the crowd. I thought there'd be like 4 or 5 people here. It's such a nice day.
What's that?
Go brought some lunch, I see.
I made it myself.